Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is for you. Thank you for tuning in to your daily dose of donkey with Ginger. Fortunately for everybody, your host, the Viking Donkey, will not be solo today as we are joined by the triumphant return of the one and only Zoidberg to bring us
What's up,
some
Steeler Nation?
thoughts.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, Zoidy hasn't been in here for a while. We can get some thoughts from
Since the
him, maybe
Browns
some
beat our
rankings from
ass in the
him.
playoffs. Not a good day.
Yeah.
Not a good
A
week.
lot of things have transpired since then, including a mini camp and some interesting Steeler news. I mean, bringing in some veterans for workouts is, just kicking the tires, seeing what you got to do. I think it was
Right.
Malik Hooker was brought in, and that's everybody's favorite, right? I mean, everybody who has a girlfriend or a wife has always wanted to buy them a jersey that said Hooker on the back. So why not sign him
That's
just for the simple fact of it will sell jerseys?
top selling female jersey right there.
I don't know what to say. Like, I get it. Former first round pick, plays safety. Depth there's a little iffy, but I mean, he never really performed up to expectations. I'm not sure that's a guy you want. Another interesting name, Zoidy, that was brought in for a tryout was Trey Turner, former four-time Pro Bowler. Got traded from Carolina to Los Angeles. I was about to call him San Diego. Had a terrible year, was injured a lot. I think he rated out in PFF as a 78th out of 80 ranked guards. But a guy who was a four-time Pro Bowler and still on the right side of 30. What do you think about bringing in another guard for a look?
It can't hurt. The more bodies, the better right now. It seems to be a weak point on the team, Donkey.
The whole offensive line seems to be, but if you thought there was a big problem, I think you go tackle before guard.
Oh,
but
without a doubt.
I don't know if I want another injury-prone guard who last year when he did play ranked out at like a 28 in run blocking and a 58 grade for PFF and pass blocking. I mean, that's terrible. But adding depth there, and of course, everything has to be a crazy conspiracy in Steeler Nation, right?
Well, absolutely. What's the fun in
David DeCastro sits out minicamp. So, what Steeler Nation's talking now. Oh man, DeCastro's either still hurt from last year or he's gonna retire. I mean,
that's Steeler Nation?
I don't know where
for
these
ya.
people get it. But not only retired, they're like, why else does this happen? Why else was he the only starter who was never made available to the media to talk to? And it's just like, all right, I get it. Conspiracy time's up and about. The one I don't really get is not only that, but I saw a large majority of people on a couple sites I won't name in the comments section saying, it just goes to show you, DeCastro doesn't have the fire anymore. He doesn't have the love for football. He doesn't want to do this, and it shows that's why they brought in Trey Turner, because they know DeCastro's done. They know he doesn't care. Dude, half of last year, DeCastro was the only guy on that offensive line I thought was trying.
It's really hard to say, Donkey. I just know as a unit they really did underperform.
They did, but I mean, I get it. It's off season. I get it. You have to make storylines, but I mean, y'all might as well go in your bunkers, put on your tinfoil caps, and get out your MREs because my lord, the stories coming out about what bringing in Trey Turner to kick the tires means. You know what it might mean? It just might mean that the Steelers do not feel comfortable with J.C. Hassenauer starting at center and B.J. Finney starting at guard. Heaven forbid anything should happen to someone. I'd assume
it just means they're not too comfortable with the lack of depth they have on that offensive line right now, Donkey. So they're just bringing in anybody they can find to see if they can, make that unit a little bit better.
And you are talking Trey Turner.
These are risky prospects here.
Who was 2 years removed from being a four-time straight Pro Bowler. It's not like they're just trying any old scrub who's at the tail end of his career. They're bringing in a guy on the right side of 30 who's had a lot of Pro Bowls to see if there's anything left there. I mean, obviously they weren't that impressed because he left Pittsburgh without a contract, so you can't be overly impressed with a guy who doesn't leave with a contract, right? Or maybe Zoidy is impressed by a guy who leaves Pittsburgh without a contract.
No, if he was any good, I'm sure he would have got a contract. But Right now, they just need to be able to bring in whoever they can.
Also, so I know minicamp's minicamp, but is it alarming to see that it seems like J.C. Hassenhauer is getting more reps and more playtime over Green, who everybody was telling us how he's going to be the next great starting center instantly? What if, say, DeCastro isn't ready for day one and we go in with J.C. Hassenhauer and B.J. Finney both in the starting lineup?
I didn't catch what you said there, Donkey.
We go into this season and the starting center's J.C. Hassenauer and starting at right guard, B.J. Finney.
What a
DeCastro
downgrade. I don't know what else to say about that. That's not a starting offensive line. That would not be a starting offensive line.
No, that'd probably be what if they perform
That's a whole bunch
well
of guys
at
that
30
back
out
up
of
on our offensive
32.
line a couple years ago, if they were lucky enough to make it to that.
Like, I mean, yeah, it's that offensive line stays scary, but like I said, there's a lot of good, interesting free agents out there. Unfortunately, I think Justin Houston just left the market. I believe he just signed a contract, so one less pass rusher to add depth out there. I mean,
also,
I was a guy who said I liked late signing of Cassius Marsh last year, and bringing him back is fine, but I only liked him as a late signing in the year because getting a guy with starting experience at the end of the year is one thing, but when you go in with Cassius Marsh as your backup plan, I'm a little more than worried.
I understand that, Donkey.
Also, you didn't tell us about your draft thoughts, so what do you think about the Steelers draft out there?
I guess I'm wait and see on it, Donkey. I'm not a big fan of taking positions of running back that high up. I'm just not.
Running backs in the first round are normally a terrible value.
Yeah. I have some high hopes for the tight end and some other positions that they picked up during it, but I honestly don't know. Time will tell, I guess. I was underwhelmed. You're
talking a team with glaring holes, though, and their second round pick is used on a future tight end. I mean, we literally, and still today, could sign Jesse James.
Yeah.
Literally today, could sign Jesse James and have spent that pick. And spent a second round pick on, I don't know, maybe an offensive lineman, maybe an edge rusher. Instead, we addressed the offensive line with two guys who are underish sized. And one guy we're hoping switches positions and learns it immediately. I don't know. It just left some space to be desired. And then the worst value pick ever is a running back in the first round. Even if he lights the world on fire, even if he is Todd Gurley, you get what, 4 years out of him? Like, was that how long Gurley lasted before he hit the wall?
We do have a habit of running the tires off running backs, so maybe they can get their money out of them.
True, but that's going to bring me to my third story, the one that I am most interested in talking about. So, I don't know if you caught all the press conferences, but there was one in particular by Matt Canada that has me extremely concerned, let's just say. I think people were misreading it a little bit, but he did say at one point, we're going to do whatever Ben wants to do because we need Ben to be comfortable. God, no. The reason I think maybe it was a misread is because one question later, he said, we do need to establish the run game and play action will need to be a part of this offense. And we all know Ben doesn't like the run game or the play action. So maybe he just misspoke on that first comment. Mm-hmm. But if this offense is built purely to appease Ben, how are we going to be different than last year?
Well, I guess they wouldn't be, Donkey, and that running back would definitely be a waste at that point, at least for this year, because they're not gonna use him in the if they're not gonna run him. I don't know why you'd use him. I hear he can catch the ball pretty well out of the backfield. That said, when we do throw to running backs, we tend to line them up wide. That's what we did with Bell quite a bit.
Yeah, or throw 2-yard screen passes
or
triple coverage.
Yeah, which is what we do and that's pretty much our pass game period anyway. Don't get me going on that offense. I hate the design of it.
On the bright
Consistency
side,
out of the run
everyone
game,
out
Donkey, and a steady 3-4 yards out of the run game and some big, over the top out of the pass game. That's how I like my offenses set up, and that is not how we set up our team last year.
Oh, so you want to play the Cleveland Browns football?
I guess if you want to say that, I kind of like to think of Pittsburgh Steeler football from about 11 years ago.
Like pre Ben signing superstar contract Steeler
Uh,
football?
I would probably say, I guess so. Willie Parker was the running back when I'm thinking, back when I was thinking,
Woo-hoo, fast Willie.
yeah.
Just goes to show you don't need to draft running backs right there. Undrafted free
Well,
agent.
Mendenhall worked
Let's
out really
go.
well, didn't he?
Okay, first off, for all the hate on Mendenhall, he gave
He
four
was
good
above
years.
average running back,
He
but
gave
he was
four
not.
good years.
I I think he was
No,
under
he
average
wasn't a
compared to
world
other
turner.
Steeler backs of the era.
Yeah, correct. But compare him to around the league. He was, and that's when running backs did get drafted in the first round.
And he also mattered a little bit more. It was more of a running league.
Yeah, and he was never a bad running back. He put up the stat,
No, he was
1,000
fine.
yard back, around 1,000 yards every year. Nothing crazy on him, but
There was things that would drive me bonkers. Like nobody could do a spin move and stay in the same place better than Rashad Mendenhall.
all right, that's fair. I don't even know what to say to that. I didn't plan on talking Rashad Mendenhall today. Okay.
Kind of took a. Go ahead.
But yeah, I have nothing against Mendenhall. I have nothing against what he did for the Steelers. I think he was a fine pick. I think he's one of the guys who gets more hate than anything because everyone thought he was going to be the piece that put him over the edge for a Super Bowl. So he kind of gets that label of being terrible, the same way Jason Worlds gets a label of being a guy who never developed all the way. But these are guys who had good careers, and when you take them at value, they perform to value of their draft pick.
I want to say that I
feel
liked
that
Mendenhall
will
better
be
as a
Najee
running back
Harris.
than I liked Worlds as a outside linebacker. But go on.
I feel Najee Harris fits that mold as well. I think he'll be a good value at the pick. But the bigger problem is,
Time will tell.
if you're the Steelers, you're trying to go all in. If you brought Ben back, you didn't bring Ben back to not try and win right now. Let's be honest. If you brought Ben back, it's to win this
Right now.
year. I don't see how luxury picks help you win this year. And I mean, if we were Kansas City 2 years ago when they drafted Edwards-Helaire, it makes sense because their only weakness was running back. If you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I can see taking a running back because you can take luxury picks when your team is solid. When you're the Steelers and you now have huge holes because you lost a starting tackle, you lost a starting guard, you lost your starting center, you lost a starting outside linebacker, you lost a starting cornerback on the outside and the inside, I think you needed to pick somewhere else. I understand that you pick for value, not for position, but in that case, trade back and get more value instead of just drafting best player available.
This team really should be in rebuild mode and not in win now mode. I don't think they have the core to do it anymore. I know it's an unpopular opinion among Steeler fans, but that's just how I see it.
That's my opinion, so I can't even argue you on that point. But if we're talking rebuild, let's say the Steelers get off to a slow start. Everyone's talking about, hey, Dewey Haskins is showing all this stuff. Everyone seems to love Dewey Haskins. But is this just Pittsburgh Steelers love third-string quarterback shit?
This is
always the third string
hype, donkey. This happens every year. They'll talk up all their picks, and they will talk up all the new players on the team, and then you'll not see anything from them. This happens every year with this football team. And probably every football team, to be fair to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Do you think Dewey Haskins?
No, I've never seen anything
Mason Rudolph.
Dewey Haskins is going to end up being a good football player.
I'm not saying that. Do you think he unseats Mason Rudolph as the backup?
I don't think so. I hope so.
Do you think he makes the roster over Josh Dobbs?
That's actually a good question. My guess is yes, because it would be embarrassing for him to not. The Pittsburgh Steelers paid this guy $1 million, I believe. Josh Dobbs isn't getting paid anything.
Didn't we sign him for like minimum since like literally
no one in the world wanted him? I thought we paid him $1 million, but maybe it is the minimum. Maybe
if you paid him $1 million,
if that's the case, then you can cut him without,
$200K over min
without any real losses, I guess.
So with those conversations being done, and please, Matt Canada, don't cater to Ben Roethlisberger. Zoidy, I told you I was going to ask you these because I was going through my top fives, and I think quarterback is a fun one. So every time I bring someone on, I'm going to ask them top
Damn it.
5 quarterbacks going into next season. For next season. Don't think past. Think the 5 best quarterbacks you think for next year. Who would you want? List them 1 to 5. I'll yell at you until you're done.
I would take
and that's how we'll
Mahomes,
do
Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. I'll throw a young gun in there that you might not expect. How about that kid from San Diego, or not San Diego, but the LA Chargers? What's his name?
Oh, Justin Herbert.
Herbert.
I love that.
That kid
I
has some
Justin
upside. I
Herbert
like his
there.
gun. I like the gun on that kid. And
He's not afraid to
and
sling
here's
it.
a quarterback I don't really like, but I think might have a big year is Stafford.
Matthew Stafford. All right. I can hear that.
I'm not the biggest
while I don't
Stafford
agree
fan,
with
but a new
through
situation
three.
for him. Maybe getting away from the losing culture of the Lions might do something for him. You know.
1
He
through
should
3, we actually agree on the quarterbacks who are in there. I believe we have a little different order. 4 and 5. I don't mind the Justin Herbert. I like the young upside. If you listen to my list, you know my list had Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson because I love young upside quarterbacks. I think Herbert's a good one.
I can't argue with those two either. It's
you're
a running
not
league
wrong
now.
on there.
Running
Where
quarterbacks are
I'm
becoming
gonna
bigger.
go ahead and give it to you, Zoidy. Is Matthew Stafford? Come on, you could say the losing culture, but at the end of the day, good
I'm not a big
quarterbacks
fan of
win.
Stafford
And the one
either.
thing about him
He's a
is
turnover
he has never
machine. He's
won.
like Big Ben with more downside. That's
Hey, I'm gonna hit you with something. I'm gonna hit you with something that a lot of people aren't gonna like. I'll go out there on a limb. I think Jared Goff has a better year than Matthew Stafford.
Oh, I'll take that bet right now. I'll put up the Lions and their roster with Goff.
I'm not saying win-loss. I am not saying win-loss.
Are you putting up numbers?
Yards,
you tell me how you measure it.
Yards per attempt, not yards per completion, yards per attempt, and touchdowns, as well as touchdown to interception ratio. I think Jared
touchdown to
Goff
interception ratio,
outdoes Matthew Stafford.
Are we just minusing interceptions from the touchdowns? Or are we going by...
It's a comparison, so it's like 2 touchdowns for every interception. So it's the ratio.
See, you'll win on that one. But I think Goff will not have more yards per attempt. I think he's a dink dunker, and that's okay. That's his style, and he's good at it. But Stafford, I think will take the top off a lot of defenses. He'll also have a lot of turnovers, like he always does. And when it comes to coming up clutch, I don't know. I don't know who I'd take in that case. With one drive,
really feel like
go down the field. I really don't know.
I feel like this year is going to be a bad year for the LA Rams. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but they lost 3 of the 4 starters in that secondary. And if you watched LA,
Agree.
Yeah, Aaron Donald's a beast, but a lot of their sacks were coverage sacks. Here's the thing. Sure, they still have Jalen Ramsey, but the rest of that team is gone. The rest of that secondary is gone. That is going to hurt them. The fact that they've gone out and spent all this money to try and make the offense everything it can be, I honestly think I think Detroit might be a surprising team, to be honest. I like what they've kind of tried to do, but they're Detroit, so until they actually do something, they're going to mess it up, right? I liked trading Stafford because honestly, he's always been one of those quarterbacks I feel is overrated. He's one of those guys who has really good arm talent, but never really seems to make the throws. But everyone loves him because he has that ability.
He does have a lot of comeback wins, but that's what happens when you trail in every game you play. You know?
That's what happens when you have like the most first quarter interceptions.
I don't argue with you either. He's a turnover machine. I've watched. He made many bad throws throughout his career.
He's a cheap man's Ben Roethlisberger.
I agree.
That's bad because Ben Roethlisberger was a cheap man's Brett Favre. It's like we're getting cheaper and cheaper by the minute.
I don't know
we
if
can
I agree
argue
with
on
the
that,
Brett Favre thing, but I guess they're similar in a way.
All they want to do is throw the ball 100
plays.
times, and they don't really care what team it goes
quarterbacks, to. So I could see the comparison. Where are we headed?
Ben is better at winning football games than Brett Favre, but they're the same type of guy. But yeah, I don't mind that top 5. I mean, I don't believe in Stafford, but you can believe in Stafford. Obviously, the Rams believe in Stafford. A lot of experts believe in Stafford.
A fantasy prediction on that one. Because I don't think the LA Rams are winning anything. If that's what you took out of that pick, That's not what I meant to say. I was just going to say he'll be
Plus,
one of the guys that'll be talked about quite a bit. I think he'll have some big numbers, but I don't think the LA Rams are going to be winning anything.
that's fair. Essentially what I'm saying is who you think if you were to pick a quarterback to start a team for next year, who are the 5 you would look at? And it's just for 1 year. You don't get to keep them going into the next year. You get to keep them to play for 1 year. And they're all fine picks. I mean, Stafford could go out and do it. I mean, he was the number one overall
Russell
pick.
Wilson's definitely moving in over Stafford. There's a whole
that
bunch
was the
of
guy
other...
at 6 for me.
I didn't hear what you said there.
That was the guy I had at 6. Just off my list was Russell Wilson. He's one of those guys who, like a lot of quarterbacks, when he got paid, just stopped winning. And I don't mean winning as in regular season. I meant just didn't get it done in the playoffs after he got paid.
He's a guy that I think of compares to Ben maybe the most of the current generation of quarterbacks. The way he closes out ball games, the way he relies heavily on big plays downfield. And I'm talking about Ben when Ben was good, of course. Not this new dink-dunk era.
The way he got paid and then his team always
and then his team went to shit. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. That's a very similar
having a great defense, but they tend to come up short at the end a lot too in ball games.
Oh man, that's a great comparison. Everything about him just matches. From the team concept down to that. I mean, a coach who half the people want fired and half the people thinks the greatest coach ever. I mean, everything fits.
That's true. They seem to be very similar.
Long lost brothers. That's what they are. Well, it was a good top 5, Zoidy. I'll give you that. I can respect that. Going into next year, who knows what's going to happen. I like the young guns in there. I like to know where you feel my bottom 2 guys on the list
I
fit
like the
for
bottom
you.
2
That
guys
being Josh Allen
I probably
and...
should have included one of them in my top 5 because I do talk about this a lot. I think the league's going towards a running quarterback kind of scheme. I think that's going to be the future. You're going to see it a lot more. It's just so much easier to do than find a good pure passer, teach him a system. You can just pick one of these guys up, plug them in, and start running some option plays, and you'll have some success. You'll have some success in this league now, offensively.
Yeah, these coordinators are getting smart. They're realizing if you have 11 players, and let's say all 6 of the skill players have to be defended by the defense, that's a hell of a lot harder than when only 5 players have to be defended by the defense.
Yeah.
And I think the greatest show of that is Lamar Jackson and what he's doing because his passing is by far, so far, subpar. I feel he'll take a step forward, hopefully, but his passing is subpar. But
Allen's
the thing is,
hit and miss too.
You can't
when
stop
Allen's
him.
on, he's very good, but there are times where that guy couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Every year till last year. You have to remember, he was completing like 53% of his passes going into last year and completed almost 70% last year.
Yeah.
That is nuts. That kind of jump is... I don't think anyone's ever really done it before. And from a guy who's never done it to doing it, that's something to say. But maybe that has something to say with adding a great receiver. Maybe that's a huge part to those teams is someone like a Stephon Diggs that just... Hey, you put it near him, he catches it.
Yeah.
And hey, maybe the Steelers should go find us one of them. Maybe it'll be Mapletron. Who knows? But it doesn't seem like that team has one right now. It seems like we have those receivers who you put it on them and they forget it.
I wouldn't say they're ordinary, maybe slightly above average, but you don't have that game changer, that guy that can break a game wide open. It just doesn't seem like it. Not since Brown left.
I say you miss a guy like Antonio Brown, don't you?
Oh. Man, if he would have just focused on his receiving career and kept his mouth shut a little bit instead of doing all this side shit. Oh, by the way, his rap is terrible. I don't know if you ever had to listen to any of that, Donkey. It is some of the worst stuff I've ever listened to.
I've heard all the ex-Steelers rap. They are all quite unique is what I'll call them. You could go from Le'Veon Bell to Antonio Brown. I don't some fun times. You can even go. Terrell Edmonds has some songs out there too. If you want to
I did not know that.
Just gonna rep you a name right there. All about the Steeler culture. All about knowing that stuff. I mean, yeah, they all. They all rep it, man. I mean, they're out there doing their thing. They got the money. Why not do what you want to do with your life? Hey, you go have fun. And most of it's not my cup of tea. I mean, I'm not. I am a fan of rap music. I'm not sure I'm a fan of what their rap music is. I'm not a fan of all rap, clearly. And yeah, they have some unique things. Antonio Brown. The only good thing I can say is the video you sent me, the shirt the kid was rocking at the beginning. Both my kids rock that shirt and love it. So hey, maybe they have fashion sense because they're repping a music video from pop culture. But I don't know.
Yeah, me neither, Donkey. Me
Uh,
neither.
Anyway, Zoidy, good job on your top five. I like it on the spot. That's the way to do it. It makes you actually just give the five that come to mind. It makes it even better. But anyway, it's that time. It's the end of the time. So go ahead, Zoidy. Do you have a shout out to anyone or anything going on?
And my shout outs to Gingy for just disappearing. I don't know where the hell you are, man, but I hope you're all right.
Alrighty, my shout out is well, first and foremost, let's give a shout out to my dad since it's Father's Day and all dads since it's Father's Day. Hey, they gave the absolute necessities to the moms to make the babies, and then they helped raise them, so they're just as important as a mother. I gave shout outs on Mother's Day. I got to give shout outs on Father's Day. You know how it is. You know how you have to rep it, and well. That about does it for us. I mean, you know where to catch me, Viking_Donkey on Twitch and Twitter, Viking Donkey on Xbox, and you can catch the show on your Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger. Zoidy, you got any closing thoughts for the people?
No, just wave them if you got them.
Yeah, wave them if you got them. Zoidy, thank you for coming.